Tuesday, October the 3rd, it is Wager Talk Today live every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, and archived 24/7 here on Wager Talk TV. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez, but don't you fret. He will be back tomorrow on Wednesday. And, of course, we've got a great show starting it off with a little NHL talk because the NHL preseason is here. The regular season's right around the corner. Co-host Teddy covers what we're looking at here in the NHL.
Well, we're going to bring Carmine Bianco in because I can't talk NHL. And Carm, let's start with a guy I've never heard of before. Leon Draisaitl for Edmonton. You like him over 50.5 goals. And being that he's 50.5 goals, I'm assuming I should have heard of the guy. But the fact that I don't follow hockey, in fact, I don't follow hockey, and then he plays in Edmonton might be two factors that have kept him off my radar. Nonetheless, he's certainly a prolific goal scorer. Why do you like him to go over that total in the 2023-2024 NHL season?
You're very good on it. It's Draisaitl, and yeah, both my player props, Teddy, are staying in the province of Alberta for today's show. But yeah, I'm excited. It's 7 days until puck drop. Andrew McInnes and I return with Puck Time daily. All of our features are 6 and 60, and of course our buy and sell segments, and a ton of great guests on the show. So we're looking forward to it. But as far as this prop, and the two props I'm going to talk about on today's show are actually client plays that I have released. So my money's on them, my client's money's on them. So hopefully these both cash for us. So Draisaitl's over 50.5 goals. He is obviously one of the two main guys in Edmonton, with McDavid being the number one, and he's supposed to, McDavid's still the face of the NHL as far as I'm concerned, even though people are talking about Connor Bedard in his rookie season. But you look at last year, Draisaitl, 80 games, 52 goals. The year prior, 55 goals in 80 games. And then you look at a couple seasons where you may assume they were drop-offs. The 2020-2021 season, only 31 goals in 56 games. But that was the COVID-shortened season in which they played basically with no fans in neutral arenas. So I think stats across the board for the NHL that year were obviously down. Even the averages were down. If you averaged out his 31 goals over an 82-game season, it comes out to a 45. I think you just draw a line through that. The previous season, 43 goals in 71 games, but he did miss 11 games in that season with an injury. And then when he came back, he was unbelievable. And then Connor McDavid goes down, and he has to carry the team. Not always the greatest thing. So anytime you play these goal-scoring props where you take them, either go over or under a number, you need pretty much to stay injury-free in those seasons. And he has, with the exception of that 2019-2020 season, he stayed injury-free. And Edmonton's a team that, again, Canadian teams just don't seem to win the cup anymore. It's been 30 years or so, 30-plus years or so. But this is a very good team that I think can win the Pacific this season and win the West as well, too. So he's going to be a big part of it. He's number one power play line, number one line. He's going to get his goals over 50.5. I see him getting that number.
That's Carmine Bianco. We're talking a little NHL, which is right around the corner. We're going to get to another player prop for the NHL regular season from Carm in just a moment. Quick reminder, you're watching Wager Talk Today here on Wager Talk TV, so do us a few favors. Thumbs up, comment below. Let us know your thoughts on today's card and all this week's college and pro football, where you see some best bets. And hit subscribe and hit the bell for instant alerts when all the shows and videos go live, including all of those college and pro football standalone solo videos that are on Wager Talk TV right now for the entire week. And don't forget, coming up next, we're going to also have Allie Burns from Team Burns. And Ben Burns is the $2 capper for $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. So we're going to have more information on a powerful NFL best bet from Ben. And don't forget, 2 for $3 also at SportsMemo.com. And I believe Teddy Covers is part of that 2 for $3 along with William Burns. So Burns and Teddy Covers over at SportsMemo.com for 2 for $3 Tuesday. But let's get back to Carm. And Carm, I'm going to follow up. It's funny. I was a huge hockey fan growing up in the 80s and the 90s, huge Washington Capitals fan, and then I disowned them, and then they became very good all of a sudden. But I can't name any guys anymore either, Teddy, so don't feel bad, and I used to follow them pretty religiously. But you've got another one out west here that you're going to talk about, another player prop. Elias Lindholm from the Calgary Flames little bit slower, 28.5 goals for him. Over or under? Which way are you looking?
Yeah, and as a true Canadian, I'm drinking my Tim Hortons coffee this morning. So
Well done.
with that said, I had to do it. I gave you guys some hard names to pronounce today, but yes, Elias Lindholm, he's at 28 and a half. And you look at his, and I think the um, line's it's possibly a couple of goals short on this one, but it seems right when you look at it. Last year, 22 goals in 80 games. The year prior, 42 goals in 82 game season. He had a great breakout year there. The COVID season, 56 games, 19 goals, then 29 and 27 the two previous years. And that's also having missed some games. The thing with this is sort of a two-factor thing for me. Number one is last year in Calgary, if you're a Calgary fan or you're a fan of hockey, you know it was a toxic environment in Calgary with their coach Sutter. He literally lambasted the players in every press conference after the game saying, this guy didn't perform. This guy didn't perform. That's stuff you keep for the locker room, maybe not in the press. Never air your dirty laundry, but Sutter didn't care. It was his way or the highway, and he was eventually shown the highway. This new coach is a great communicator with this team. They like him already, and I think this is a season in which Calgary bounces back. There's plenty of talent on this Calgary team, and Lindholm will be a big part of that. The other caveat to this is his final year of his contract. He's looking for an extension. We see players in their contract years put up big numbers, and eventually he's looking for 8 years. He's not going to get 8 years. He's a restricted free agent in 24, 25 next season. He'll also be 30 that season. And let me tell you, Father Time is undefeated. So when you're 30 in the first year of a long-term contract, it's better that it's a 4-year contract and not an 8-year contract. And that's likely what they'll do. They'll probably throw in a bunch of incentives, get him to sign for 4 years. Much like what Matthews did in Toronto. He was looking for an 8, he got a 4 and a boatload of money. So Lindholm is not Austin Matthews, but he's good enough to get over this number of 28 and a half. Bounce back year for the Calgary Flames, and Lindholm to have a big year as well.
Elias Lindholm as a bet on player for the Calgary Flames from Carmine Bianco. Carm, what do you have to promote? Obviously, NHL, not on center stage, but just around the corner, just like NBA, college hoops, all the winter daily sports. You can hear the chirping. It's coming. What do you have going right now for your clients over at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different options. Obviously, Champions League is up 3 games today. Match day 2 of Champions League, undefeated week 1 in Champions League and Europa League, 5 wins, 3 pushes in my 8 plays. And Wager Talk, Johnny Detroit and the office staff put up a great deal. It's on my page right now at Wager Talk, $49 for the first 7 days of the NHL season. And not only that, if you're one of the first 25 people buying that $49 deal, you're going to get an extra couple days. So you'll get 9 days instead of 7 days. And that's available to the first 25 purchasers. I tweeted that one out last night. And then we're just going to get right back at it with weekend. There's plenty of soccer this week. And of course, NFL. We'll see if we can run back another good weekend in the NFL 4-0 on Sunday.
It's Carmine Bianco, WagerTalk.com, and NHL is right around the corner. You know, it's funny, Teddy, I was doing a show with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. I believe it was Friday night, and they were talking about how the Argonauts had clinched everything, were resting their starters. So as they're talking, I went to the Wager Talk live odds screen to see how much that line had moved during the week. And I see a money line only. So I thought I had the wrong tab. And then I realized I was on NHL preseason. The Toronto Maple Leafs were playing. So that's the only reason I even knew hockey had started. By the way, the Argonauts went from +2 to +9. So that did move a full touchdown when they rested their starters. I eventually found that as well on the Wager Talk live odds screen. But yeah, preseason hockey betting odds are up right now. And the regular season right around the corner. And that's Carmine Bianco, hockey expert and soccer expert and football expert at WagerTalk.com. All right, Teddy, let's get back to football. Of course, we have Team Burns coming up. Allie Burns partnered with Ben Burns coming up in a moment. We're going to talk college and pro football, including the Colorado game in college football. Always interesting to talk about prime time. But first, let's talk about the NFL and gambling. You know, we've seen a lot of hoopla in the last few months, and it looks like once again they're pivoting, right? They were against it till they were for it. when it became legal, and now they're continuing to adjust, it looks like.
So I've been talking about sports in the media for more than 20 years now. And I can probably count on one hand the times I've said, the NFL did the right thing. The NFL did the right thing. But the NFL just did the right thing. Let's give them credit where credit is due. They have amended the gambling policy, and they've amended it in a positive way. All right. First, the updated rules lessen the punishment for betting on non-NFL sports. So we've seen a handful of suspensions get ended early. Jameson Williams for the Lions, Titans lineman Nicholas Petit Frere, and of course Cam Robinson for the Jaguars, all of whom were suspended for non-NFL betting at a team facility. Those suspensions were now reduced, and the punishment for betting non-NFL stuff in an NFL facility has been reduced. And I think that's a good thing. However, when we talk about NFL-related bets from team facilities, now it's real in terms of punishment. You get a full-year ban for any NFL-related bets from a team's facility, permanent ban to anyone found to be fixing or attempting to fix games, anyone found to be providing inside information or tipping to aid others' bets will also face a minimum absence of 1 year and an indefinite suspension. Any players using a third party or proxy to bet on games will also be subject to an indefinite suspension of at least 1 year. So what they've done is they've separated NFL betting from other sports betting. When we talk about NFL players, I agree with that assessment. It's appropriate to do that. We're in a world now where betting is legit and legal and regulated, but you don't want players betting on their own games. You don't want players telling other people to bet on their own games. You don't want players giving out info. So NFL amendment to the gambling policy, thumbs up from this bettor. Job well done, although it's worth noting, this isn't in the contract. It's not something that was collectively bargained. So all this stuff will be on the table the next time these two teams are in collective bargaining situation. For now, NFL making changes and positive ones in this bettor's opinion. Steve?
Yeah, I draw a lot of analogies between the financial markets, as you know, and the betting markets. And, insider trading is illegal, right? So I've always wanted to see the sports betting markets be more like the financial markets. And we have these same kind of regulations, in the financial markets as well. You can't trade on inside information. You can't pass along inside information to a third party, have them trade on it. So I think this is very logical. And look, the goal here is they don't want people betting on NFL games. And I totally agree with that. So then they take it a step further and they don't let anybody betting on sports because that gets a step closer to that. Just regulate what you want to regulate. So if they want to bet on an NBA game at home, they should be able to do so because it's not hurting anything. And I think not doing it at the facility is a good compromise because then it's getting closer to the workplace. So, yeah, I'm with you, Teddy. It's one of the few times I would agree that the NFL did something right. And let's not forget, once again, what big hypocrites they've been for decades that you and I have been doing this with the gambling stuff. They're all the way to the Supreme Court along with the NCAA. And then the day after the Supreme Court overturns it and becomes legal in all these states, the NFL is right behind it, which is fine. But always been a lot of hypocrisy. They've always been a day late and a dollar short. So at least they did something right here, in my opinion. Teddy, real quick, I didn't think of this till you were talking, and I haven't been able to find any info on it. Have you seen anything about fantasy sports? What's the rules on that? Same? You never see that mentioned anymore for the players.
Yeah, I'm assuming that players are allowed to play fantasy sports without too much difficulty.
So.
When
NFL?
When it comes to prize pools, I don't know. I don't know at all. But I would. Fantasy, yeah, players always are talking about that, tweeting about that. It hasn't. I don't think that's changes. And
no, but
what's happening
like, for money, like DraftKings daily, like a daily fantasy DraftKings, you think?
I would assume that's gambling on the NFL.
I would think so also. Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't seen the anything specific about fantasy. But you're making an NFL bet at a sports book, and if you're doing it in an NFL facility, it's not a good thing. And it's interesting to note, Chris Sims wrote this, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense actually, because most of the time you hear stuff about gamblers that non-gamblers write, and it's nonsense. And Chris Sims is like, I'll bet that in theory that the leagues wanted that the sports books who now are advertising with the leagues, they want the NFL players to gamble on other sports. They want all the athletes to gamble. They have a lot of money, and they're not necessarily good bettors. And he's like,
No,
that's
definitely.
why you're seeing this differentiation. The sports books were lobbying for that. I don't know if it's true or not, but it makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about that, Teddy. I think it's a great way to close this because, yeah, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're betting on other sports, and
Oh, take
several of
the
these
over.
guys are. So, yeah, you take the over. Yeah, it's interesting. Viewers, let us know your thoughts in the comments below here on YouTube. Good, bad. Did the NFL get it right? Other changes you would make? And let me know also if you see anything on the fantasy sports. I didn't see that specifically mentioned anywhere. I'd be kind of curious if you've seen anything. So please comment below here on YouTube. I read all the comments. So to Teddy, we reply back as well. Let's win together here on Wager Talk TV. All right, it is $2 Tuesday at Wager Talk. It is $3 Tuesday at Sports Memo. It might not sound like a good deal, but it's actually 2 for $3. So it's $1.50 at sportsmemo.com. William Burns and Teddy Covers are part of that double. But at $2 Tuesday, wagertalk.com is Team Burns. Ben Burns has a strong NFL best bet for this weekend. And we're going to bring on Allie Burns, part of Team Burns, to talk about some pro football in just a moment. But Allie, first, I want to talk about the most popular college football team week in and week out, and that's the Colorado Buffaloes, down 34-7 in the first half last week after that blowout loss against Oregon. And then they storm back. They make it a game in the second half. Is that fool's gold? Can we trust them again? Is it play on, play against for Colorado? What are you and Ben looking at?
So actually, this is a William Burns play. Hey guys, how's it going, by the way? So actually, we're doing something a little different this time around because we are promoting William as well. William is Ben's son, for anyone out there who doesn't know, and he's a really sharp handicapper in his own right. And he's actually got the play. You find him over at Sports Memo, but he's got the play on Colorado for this one. We all know they've been the talk of the college football world this whole time. And like William is saying, or just like you said, Steve, after that comeback against USC, he has faith in the Buffaloes. He has no reason to doubt them. And Arizona State is a team that they could definitely beat. And, trying to get to that 6, I don't know if Colorado can really reach the 6, but they've got 3. And this would be one of the ones that would knock them into the winners column there. So he's really liking Colorado minus the 4. And Arizona State just isn't really that good. William had Fresno against them a few weeks back, and they humiliated the Sun Devils 29-0. Now they've looked a little bit better, but ASU's offensive output is just not going to be able to hang with the Buffaloes. Plus, those Buffaloes are super motivated right now after that game against USC. So we're rolling with Colorado minus the 4. William likes it up to a 5. He thinks the final score is 37-21. So that is our first play. Colorado, we're laying the points.
So Colorado is a favorite. We've seen them one time in that role this year. That was against Colorado State. I mean, they were pick 'em basically in the Nebraska game. But the one time where they were laying points was Colorado State, and they were lucky to get that game into overtime and never sniffed a point spread cover there. Does that worry you that we're talking about a change in roles? Here's Colorado's been catching big points. 3 different times this year they've been catching a bunch of points, 3 touchdowns or more, and now they're laying points as road favorites. Does that worry you?
It doesn't, because I think that's what they should. I think they should be the favorite in this situation. So, and really this is a William question, but in my opinion, I think they should be the favorite in this situation. I mean, we just mentioned the Fresno State match. They are the better team in our opinion. So it doesn't worry us, not much at all. If it was a bigger number, a key number, something like that, maybe, but no, we're good here. Colorado minus 4, ship it.
And once again, that's William Burns, who can be found at sportsmemo.com, and he's part of the 2 for $3 along with Teddy Covers. And quick note, normally these football packages in the past have stayed up for the special $2 or $3 price all week. That is not the case anymore. No more, folks. No more freeloading all week. You got to get it today on Tuesday. So if you want the 2 for $3 for Teddy Covers and William Burns at Sports Memo, you got to get it before midnight here on Tuesday. Or if you want Ben Burns' strong AFC best bet, a rare 5% play for this weekend, you got to get that on Tuesday because it is $2 Tuesday. It is no longer $2 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Allie, give us something in the NFL that we can look at, because I don't want to give away Ben's strong NFL play, but get us something else maybe he's looking at this weekend.
Yeah, and Ben is super strong in the NFL. I believe he's been the number 1 NFL capper on WagerTalk since Christmas. So this is a free pick, but he's got a 5%er up for this weekend. We're looking at Baltimore and the Steelers here, the Ravens and the Steelers. I don't like when people do that. You say the city and the team. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, so this one is from Ben. Now, we know that Kenny Pickett is out. He left the game with a bone bruise in his knee. Now, remember also that Steelers are on a bye next week. So we're thinking likely he's going to be sat, which we think is a good idea. But either way, whether it's Pickett or Trubinsky, Ben likes taking the points in this one. The Steelers looked bad last week. We know that, but they also looked bad in week 1, and they came back and beat Cleveland, who's another divisional rival. And the Ravens rarely fare well as favorites. They're 9-17 against the spread, last 26 as chalk, 3-11 against the spread, the last 14 as favorites in the -3.5 to -9.5 range. And they're playing the second back-to-back road game. In fact, this is their third divisional road game in the past 4 weeks. So Ben feels like this is going to be a tough spot. And then also it's worth noting that these games are close. My whole family's from Pittsburgh, so I know this rivalry well. The last 4 meetings between the Ravens and the Steelers were all decided by 3 points or less, and the average margin of victory was only 2 points. In fact, the last 6 meetings were all decided by 5 or less. So we're taking the points with the Steelers. That's how we're going to roll this game, this play.
So, I mean, yeah, it's one of those plays that certainly it makes a ton of sense. We look at the series history. Every time these two teams play, it's a battle. Someone wins by a field goal if they play well. Otherwise, it's a 1 or 2 point margin. But we saw last week, I mean, Baltimore really played well in Cleveland. And when you have a team that can do that, hit the highway, get a nice win, and now they're on the highway again this week, do you worry about that momentum carrying forward for the Ravens? Because the Ravens' A game was pretty darn good last week. And Pittsburgh is certainly having some offensive issues.
Right. No, I think that's a really fair question, because I love momentum. It's a way that I like to handicap, is motivational, situational. So I get what you're saying. They're rolling full speed ahead, whereas the Steelers have just kind of run into an injury bug, although it's not too serious. But no, I like this Steelers at home. This is Ben's play, and he's pretty solid on it. And again, it's not necessarily that Pittsburgh wins the game, but we do think that they cover 3.5. So that's the way we're going to roll with that play. But again, if you want best bets, head over to WagerTalk.com and check out his good stuff. The good, that stuff.
Yeah, Nally, tell us once again about that strong play Ben's got. I think he's on an 11-1 run the last 4 and 5 percenters in the NFL, and this is a strong 5 percenter. And once again, it's $2 Tuesday. It's going to be $35 after midnight.
Yep, exactly. Yes, he is. He's 11-1. Like I said, #1 NFL handicapper at WagerTalk since Christmas. He's got a huge 5% play going on Sunday. It's only $2 at WagerTalk right now, like you said, and that price is going up to $35 at midnight. Also, like you said. So yes, check that out. And then William also has the $2 play available. He has killer stats as well. He's hitting 67% since arriving at Sports Memo. So definitely go check him out as well. It's for $4, you get one from him and one from him. I mean, come on, let's make money, people. Let's make money.
It's Allie Burns, part of Team Burns. And once again, Ben Burns has a strong 5% NFL best bet for $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. And then you're getting both William Burns and Teddy Covers, 2 best bets for just $3 at SportsMemo.com. But Tuesday only. Buy now. Don't delay. Teddy Covers, let's talk a little bit more NFL while we've got you. We're going to have Dave Sharapan on from the Las Vegas Strip here in a few minutes. But wow, this game jumps out to me on Sunday, Teddy. I mean, you've got a contrast of 2 teams here, right? I mean, you got the Giants, who have yet to cover, looked miserable again on national TV for the second time this season. And then you've got the Miami Dolphins, who looked fantastic the week before. I cashed a best bet going against Miami for my clients with the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, so I was happy with that result. How you playing this one? Let's get a little big game breakdown, Giants and Dolphins.
Let's do it. Big game breakdown time right here on Wager Talk Today. Giants and the Dolphins. Look at the Wager Talk live odds screen. Miami, let's call it -11, total of 50 against the G-Men on Sunday. And your concept here, we want to buy low on the Giants. No, I don't want to buy low on the Giants. This is a demoralized team right now. They're still looking for the first point spread cover of 2023. They've been blown out basically, 7 of the 8 halves they played this season. They've lost 3 times in 4 games by 18 or more. The only win was when they rallied from behind against an Arizona team that doesn't have much defense. This isn't an offense primed to trade points with anyone. This isn't a defense that's primed to hold down the fort while the offense works things out. There's a problem on the offensive line, clearly, for the G-men. You have a quarterback who signed his $160 million deal and has been basically ripped by everyone ever since. This is a team coming apart at the seams. I do not want them against a hungry, focused opponent. Against a team that's going to look past them, maybe the Giants can hang in there. But against a team coming off, not just a loss, a bad loss, an embarrassing loss. You know, Mike McDaniels after the game, quote, "I'd be lying if I was pumped about anything from our team today. The National Football League's a humbling game." Tua after the game, "It's tough when you lose and you lose like this, but we're not going to blink. I can promise you one thing, we will definitely be better from this." Miami can score points in bunches. The Giants can't. Sometimes it's just that simple. One team primed for a focused performance, one team pretty well demoralized. I know it's a square play. I don't care. The squares win plenty of times too. Lay it or don't play it. Give me Miami minus the 11. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, Teddy, I think you and I both probably changed the way we handicap since we started in the 1990s, over 2-3 decades ago. And we never would have probably, at least I would never have considered laying double digits in the 1990s. I don't think I probably did, but it's so different now. And first of all, the games are higher scoring. The offense is more, pass oriented so they can explode more. But I know you and I both lay favorites in college football. And I've talked about it a lot, like in September for several years now. That's been the majority of my plays are big favorites. I talked about Texas A&M yesterday as a play-on team in September for me. They've gone 4-1 ATS. Oklahoma blew out some weaker teams as well after a disappointing season. And, if this was a college football game, it'd be, 3 or 4 touchdowns, right? So it's like it's 11, looks big for the NFL, right? But, it's less than 2 touchdowns still. And like you said, the Dolphins are an explosive offense. We saw what they did against Denver. And then the Giants really don't have any backdoor cover with that offense. Like I said yesterday with the Giant analysis, they've yet to force a turnover. I thought maybe they were due 3-0 last night, 3-0 turnover disadvantage. They have yet to force a turnover in 4 games. And now some of that's random. But yeah, it is really hard for me to make a case for the Giants. How is this line, Teddy, not like 14 or more?
And it's not going there. Look, from a power rating standpoint, going to last night's game, I think my power rating number for the game was like 8.5 or something.
Oh, wow.
It's not going to 14. It's not one of the situations where the markets are going to crazy adjust on the G-men. The G-men are already, money came against New York throughout the offseason. All right. People thought they overachieved last year, which they did. People thought they got lucky in a lot of close games last year, which they did. People didn't like their offseason moves, which certainly seems warranted now. And the money came against the Giants pretty steadily from the start of the offseason. And money's coming against the Giants so far here in the regular season on a pretty steady basis. But the markets haven't come close to catching up with how bad this team is. Obviously, they're the only 0-4 ATS team in the league. Now they're catching double digits. And again, if they're facing a team off a win, a team that's fat and happy, a team that's in a spot where they're not fully focused on them, then sure, the Giants will be live. But this is a spot where I anticipate they're going to be facing a focused team coming off a pretty bad debacle of a loss in Buffalo. And when you have a bottom feeder facing a focused team, that's where you get your blowouts. You see it in college football and you see it in the NFL. Minus 11 looks cheap for this better.
Yeah, that's such an excellent point, Teddy, and I failed to mention that because for me, this looks like one side only. It's the Dolphins. And I forgot to mention that's because they are coming off a bad loss. If they were coming off a upset of Buffalo on the road and they had a look ahead towards like the 49ers next week or something big, this was a sandwich situation, you would tread a little lightly, but it's the exact opposite. It's a bounce back spot. And I've said for years now, the sports betting sometimes becomes very complicated, but the most simple premise of all is playing the better team in a focused spot in any sport if the line is right. And I think that checks all the boxes here. We get the better team, a focused spot, and I think the line is still cheap for the reasons you mentioned. The Giants had that misleading good season last year. We talked about it yesterday, and they continue to struggle. We don't have Dave Sharapan as of yet. Hopefully he will join us, but we have some questions in the live chat. We don't even have a BS question because we thought we had so much time. But real quick, I think Dave's coming in right now. Before we get there, though, I want to take a question that we have in the live chat here during the show today on Tuesday. and it's all about insider trading. This is from Greg Malacuso. It says, question for Steve, what is insider trading for sports betting? Obviously, easy answers be when we're talking about athletes, no, but the pro bettors don't. And, Teddy, this is something I've always found very interesting when I make those financial market analogies. Insider trading is illegal in the financial markets. Yet, if you or I get information and we find something out, it's not illegal for us to act on it and move the line. And I actually think that's a good thing. I think the betting lines become more efficient, quicker. And that's always something I kind of disagreed with a little bit in the financial markets. I think people do it. I think Congress does it. We could have a whole show on that. So why not allow it to happen and get the number where the price on a stock or the number on a sports bet where it should be quicker? If somebody has an edge, shouldn't they benefit? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So I lived in Las Vegas since 1998. And over the years, look, you meet a ton of players. Players hang out in Vegas. They hang out in sports books in Vegas. And over the years, I've met a handful of players from multiple sports, both active and retired. When I meet an active player, I walk away. Flat out. They don't want to know me, and I don't want to know them. It's not right. I'll say hi, whatever, but it's not a situation where anyone is going to benefit from that relationship. This isn't like, okay, Phil Mickelson trying to, or Billy Walters trying to stick his hooks into Bill Nicholson and get something going. When I meet a player, hey, nice to meet you, Teddy Covers, I'm a gambler, and that's the end of the conversation. Retired guys are different, but active players, they shouldn't be hanging out with me, and I shouldn't be hanging out with them. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Teddy, it's an excellent point. And once again, I go back to you and I've been doing this since the 90s. You and I think alike in so many ways. I'm always the same way with college athletes and pro athletes. I know both. And you and I aren't jerks, right? And so I'm very cautious about that for their sake, not mine. It's their sake, because it's their livelihood. And they've got a lot more to lose than me, right? Because I can do whatever I want. It's not illegal for me to talk to a pro athlete, but they could get in a lot of trouble. So basically, I don't go that route. I don't talk sports. I don't talk betting. Definitely don't talk betting. And it's something I tread lightly. So it's very interesting to hear you say that because I've been in that situation numerous times. I'm always in that situation, and I'm always kind of respectful for their livelihoods. And you're right. Once they're a retired athlete, totally different. Let's bring on Dave Sharapan, though. And Dave, I'll get your take on this as well while we have you. I've always thought it's kind of interesting that it's illegal to get a tip in a stock, and act on it. Yet if you or I get a tip or we hear something from an athlete, it's not illegal for us to act on. They might get in trouble, but it's not illegal for us. Your thoughts on that? I mean, doesn't it get the price where it should be a little bit quicker? Isn't it more efficient for the markets?
It might be, but I mean, the difference between the markets and the games is they got to play the games. You can do whatever you want, right? Games can still be left to competition, chance, randomness, whereas the markets is completely different. That something can be manipulated. Penny stocks can be dumping pumps and all that stuff. I think you have to, if you understand the financial markets, you understand why it's similar to sports, but it's a little bit different. I've met a ton of guys, current athletes, former athletes, coaches, managers, fighters, managers of fighters, PR people. They bet, they don't, they do, they talk, they don't. Like it becomes numb when you live here long enough. Teddy's been here a little bit longer than me. I got here in 2003. You hear stuff and then you watch the game play out. Obviously, a week ago when the Eagles were playing on Monday night, somebody knew Jalen Hurts was sick. They kept betting Tampa, just kept betting Tampa and kept betting Tampa. They had inside information that he wasn't feeling well. The Eagles won and covered. Doesn't always win. That's the hard part about it.
Right.
Well, I want to ask you this, Dave. So when you meet a current, I'm not talking about retired guys, but when you meet a current athlete, are you conscientious about what you talk to them about in terms of, is anything that, or is it just a free flowing conversation? You're not worried about them sharing any sports betting information with you or inside info with you, or is it not really relevant?
When you're working in the book, you just kind of just treat them like everybody else, just another customer. You know what I mean? Now there's a lot more regulations. There's, in other states, probably it's a lot different. In Nevada, it was just like, take the bet, get the money in the drawer, sign them up for the account, do whatever you had to do and be done with it. So I think the difference is now the leagues are partners. The leagues are involved, very involved with stuff. So whose burden is it to report that an athlete was in your book? I don't know. I'm glad I'm out of the business because it becomes a precarious situation. But I've had great conversations with people. Some of them, you're right, didn't center around sports or betting anything at all. It was, where do I go to dinner? Where's a good place to go eat? And stuff like that. And I think that's one of the strengths of Vegas. There's a lot of famous people walking around just every day in different
Yep.
casinos. And then, they walk through the book. They want to come watch a game. They want drink tickets like everybody else. They want a good seat and enjoy the game. So I think in other places, and now with the apps, you can't be in a certain place and be an athlete and wager on a game, let alone you definitely can't wager on your own league. There's a lot more restrictions now that are public because they have to be, because it's not just happening here.
So,
Dave. Yeah, go ahead, Teddy. I was going to see if you had anything.
Oh, no, I was going to shift focus and start talking about some games, if you like.
Yes.
We've had some theory. Now let's talk some practice. And you're wearing a Phillies cap. We haven't had any baseball discussion. Playoff baseball starts. Give us your thoughts, Dave. Where's the action coming here in Vegas? What are you seeing in terms of pros versus Joes, and anyone that you particularly want to put your money behind in these MLB wildcard games and or series?
I was just down at Circa this morning, looking at some prices for series, and they got this fun bet World Series exactas with some absurd prices on dogs. And Prez isn't here, and I definitely don't want any drama. But last year, 5 and 6 were Padres and Phillies, and they ended up in the NLCS and had some gigantic tickets on both to win a World Series, which ended up resulting in me having to bet the Astros, which I didn't want to do. Those guys just told me, there was a big move against Milwaukee, both in the series price, not so much today, but all their odds. Milwaukee, they increased their odds, made them, a better buy because of the Woodruff news. So Woodruff there was going to be probably the second or the third starter, but a big part of the rotation was ruled out last night at a press conference. He can't pitch. So that made the Diamondbacks live in the series, and they adjusted all of the Diamondbacks prices to advance, and, Diamondbacks to win the series in 3, and all that stuff had to be adjusted because now, even if they don't beat Burns today, they come back with Gallen and they can win game 3. So that was one that I saw this morning. Personally, I got a soft spot for the Phillies because Bryson Stott, who's Major League Baseball second baseman for the Phillies, is a family friend. Watched him play his games at UNLV, Vegas kid. So I'm rooting personally, and a little financially too, on the Phillies. I think this is a really tough series. I dove into the numbers. Luzardo's 3-0 against them, and they're 30-21 against lefties on the season. Schwarber hits lefties. Harper, we'll see. I think the game's a dead under today. Luzardo and Wheeler. That's going to be a tremendous baseball game. Good watch, low scoring. The American League, Texas and Tampa is a complete coin flip. Really a coin flip. Texas was in first place. I got this stat this morning from MLB Network. 149 games of the 162, Texas was in first place, and they didn't win the last weekend, and now they got to go through the wild card. That's right. They got to go through Tampa, and then their present after that is Baltimore, and then Houston just to get to the World Series. So the odds on Texas went completely flipped, where they were one of the favorites. They're the longest shot on the board, along with Toronto. Toronto's 16-15 in Gossman starts. Minnesota's the team that everybody kind of is overlooking. Their odds are absurd as far as being the 3 seed. They got a great bullpen. Lopez is top starter in baseball. Nobody knows about the Twins. I think they advance.
Dave, I do fade the public for the NFL, but if anyone's looking for consensus maybe in the MLB playoffs, your boys at MLB Network, speaking to them last night, the 3 of them did their bracket. and all three had Braves Rays in the finals. 2 Braves, 1 Rays winning it, but all three had that. So I find that interesting that you say Texas Tampa is a toss-up. And once again, Texas finished, I believe, 36 net runs better than Houston. All they had to do was win Sunday. Houston played against Arizona backups, and now they're having to play Tampa instead of getting the bye. So boy, did the Astros catch a break.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a sleeper, though, I mean, Braves are tough to play against. Although I like everyone's just having them beat the Dodgers. For me, if I had to take a non-Rays Braves finals, I'd have Dodgers, and maybe nobody has Orioles going very far either. I mean, talk about the Orioles.
I can't believe it. The Orioles all they did was win 100 games, and I think they set themselves up perfectly for the 5-game series. Right? They're gonna have the top 2 guys go. So at home, I mean, all they have to do is win the home games the rest of the way. They've been great at home. I think the Orioles are as good as anybody in the American League. The American League is really there's not a discernible favorite like there is in the National League. The Braves and everybody else, even the Dodgers, are a step below because of their bullpen. Bullpen is a mess. And the other stat I got this morning from MLB is that the percentage of innings pitched by the bullpen in 5 to 8 years ago was about 30 to 32%. Last year, 46% of the innings were pitched by the bullpen. Give me the best bullpen right now, at least going in, and that's going to be a recipe for winning games in October. So
was that all games, or were you talking about playoff games only, Dave?
That was a postseason stat. That was
wow. So you're talking about almost half the innings in the postseason now have been bullpen the last year.
Yes.
So that's shocking to me. I would not have thought. I would have taken the under.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it too. So that lessens the importance of the starters, which is opposite of the thinking of the past, where if you have 2 horses at the top, that automatically puts you in. It doesn't necessarily do that anymore.
No, it certainly doesn't. Just a few minutes left here with Dave Sharapan at SportsBK Consig, the Sportsbook Consigliere on Twitter. He has an excellent follow. And Dave, I do want to talk some NFL. First thing I want to ask you about Patrick Mahomes' slide. How much did that flip? How much did that flip here in Nevada? Or when you talk about, between the Chiefs covering and the Jets covering on Sunday night, I've heard people say that was a $100 million slide. If you talk about a global market, was it that big?
It was a big number because everything was rolling. The favorites went 12-3 straight up, 9-5-1 ATS going into that game. They had a lot of liability rolling with the 3-teamers, the 4-teamers, the 5-teamers. That was a big swing. I mean, there was a lot of guys that were relieved. It turned a losing day into a break-even day at some places. It turned a really bad losing day into just a small losing day in some places, and turned a couple joints into winners. So it was big, but yeah, there was no way. Like, for people, the gambling space, the content space, all this stuff, Patrick Mahomes was trying to win a football game. Had nothing to do with the spread. Like, stop the nonsense. It's just bad break. I mean, the number was good. It was sitting right on the number the whole time. I'm more curious to how they kept the ball for the last 7.5 minutes of the game. That was the shocking part of that. Forget the slide. It was a perfect slide, by the way. He was absolutely safe.
Well, you're saying that it wasn't scripted? I thought that the league wrote it out and sent it out to all the refs and players. And then, I mean, like, the people that lose a bet trying to find excuses for why they lost the bet. It's all scripted. Really hard to script this stuff, I would think, and really hard to keep everyone's mouth shut. All that being said, Dave, let's talk this week. Looking forward, and we got just a few minutes left with you. NFL, early week action. Who do the pros seem to like? What game's going to be on all the parlay cards?
Well, I mean, Thursday night is another primetime game. I mean, you watched the game last night. How many times do you have to watch a primetime game and try to bet over and try to beat it? Like, it's an automatic play under. It's unbelievable. I can't explain it. I don't know. I mean, we can have Ralph run it and try to find out why, but it's incredible how the games just keep going under. But look at Jacksonville, Buffalo, over in England, and Buffalo looked as good as anyone in the NFL. Josh Allen's now the MVP favorite. They destroy Miami, and they go, and they're only laying 5.5. I mean, there was already a move on that game from an opener of 4 was too low. It's up That'll be on a lot of parlay cards to start the day. Miami's going to destroy the Giants. The Giants are one of the worst teams in football. That's another one that you just can't figure. Bad guys, Ramos' parallelograms already played Arizona against Cincinnati. Something's wrong with Joe Burrow. Something's wrong with that offense. It's not right. They're a favorite again on the road. I guess it's hard to make Arizona a favorite, but that's a pick'em game, so you get any points with Arizona. Philly may have a hard time against the Rams. A lot of people are saying that the Rams are going to be the side there. The Jets are going to beat Denver. Denver's terrible. That's just my personal feeling. I think the Jets with Wilson, he grew up on Sunday night. He actually played with, his mind as well as his feet and his arm, and I think that they're poised to win that game on the road. Game of the week is Dallas San Francisco. Can't wait to watch that game. San Francisco is the best team in the league. If you don't have, I would be surprised if you didn't have San Francisco at the top of your power rating. I can't wait to watch that game. Dallas did what they were supposed to do to New England and then some, giving Belichick his worst loss in his career. I couldn't believe it. He never lost a game by 35 points. He did. That was drama. And then it's Ravens week in Pittsburgh, boys. And Pittsburgh is beat up. They got no offensive line. I might put the Steelers stuff away the rest of the season. It's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me. But man, oh man, the Steelers are in trouble. That being said, them plus the points.
From Pittsburgh, Dave Sharapan. We're going to talk a little college football in a second. Once again, you can find Dave in numerous spots, including the MLB Network occasionally. And by the way, Dave, I looked up bullpen ERAs. Last year, the best ERA and WHIP in the regular season, Houston Astros. They won it. 2020, the Braves pulled the upset, but the Dodgers had the best bullpen. The Dodgers were the best team that year. 2019, the year before, 2020, the Dodgers had the best bullpen, and they won it. So going into this season, best ERA this year, New York Yankees. So they're not going to win the World Series. We go down. The Brewers are second. Dodgers are third. You ripped on the Dodger bullpen. The Dodgers have the third best ERA and the best WHIP in baseball this year. So why did you say, real quick before we get to college, why did you not like that bullpen?
The high leverage innings were so bad at the end of games. Like it's the ninth was good. It's the seventh and eighth that were bad. But the guys at MLB said the Brewers. That's the one they told me. And I'm like, man, I fall for the NL Central team every single year. Every single year. Because the prices are so high because nobody bets them and gives them a chance. I think if the Brewers can get by this first series, they can go to LA and win. And then they can go and I think they can give Atlanta a series. That means they beat them. I don't know, but I think that they are live because they will play those games where they will get to the end and be in it.
So, yeah, Milwaukee's second best ERA, third best WHIP this season. So you could say they maybe are the most complete bullpen in the playoffs. Dave Sharapan, real quick, college football, what you looking at this week?
Oh, man. I mean, the Red River Shootout. Can we still call it that, or is it the Red River Rivalry? I don't know.
Oh, no, the shootout's illegal.
They changed it back to
shootout. Told me that
yeah.
years ago. Yeah, shootout is really not politically correct. So we're going to have to edit that out from the live version.
That's what I know it as, but it's the Red River Rivalry. I can't wait to watch it. I think Oklahoma may get run out. We're going to talk about it on Bostonian versus the Book. We've been talking about it since last week. Oklahoma gave up a ton of points to Iowa State. And Iowa State is not as bad as Iowa offensively, but it's close. And they moved the ball. They had consistent chunk yard plays and stuff. Texas may run them out. The number came down as far as the total. I was surprised. I thought 62 was a really good number, and it would move up, and it went right down. So maybe they look at blowout potential where, Texas wins 38-10, something like that. I don't know how many points Oklahoma puts up, but they're going to give up a lot of points. Texas team total over, I think, is live there. Other than that, boys, there's a lot of teams that, Notre Dame at Louisville, did they get by again? It's short. It's 6.5. I have no respect for Louisville, so I guess my number's wrong. I just thought that would be over a touchdown. That's it, really. There's a lot of games, but there's not a lot of quality games. There's a lot of big spreads. This is still finding that way. Alabama, Texas A&M is the other game. still proven otherwise. For me, that's Bama, but man, are they ripe for an upset. Their quarterback only runs, doesn't pass. Maybe Texas A&M pulls the upset there.
Dave Sharapan at SportsBK Consig on Twitter. Thank you for your time, my friend. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday. And best of luck with all your wagers. You got something you got to say? You were like,
excellent work, sir. No. We got Bostonian versus the Book coming up at 10:30 today. We got Matt Vescursion on from MLB Network, and then Sports Grid and Sirius XM all week. MLB Network, maybe a Friday playoff special for the divisional round. That's it. Thanks, boys. Excellent work. No drama on a Tuesday without Prez.
It was drama-free. Wasn't Canadian-free because we did a Carmine Bianco. So thank you to Carmine. Thank you to Allie Burns from Team Burns, part of William Burns, Ben Burns, and Teddy Covers because he's the 2 for $3 at sportsmemo.com. Ben Burns, of course, $2 Tuesday at wagertalk.com. And then that was the great Dave Sharapan. Lawrence Presman will be back tomorrow, Wednesday. Teddy, don't you fear. In the meantime, take us home.
Sure, that's going to wrap it for the Tuesday edition of Wager Talk Today. Like you said, Steve, we'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy your playoff baseball and best of luck with your wagers.